What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of This Week in Tigers Baseball. And this week for the Tigers, it was more of the same. Losing, playing some bad games, and inconsistencies throughout this entire team. Right now, this team, it's hard to believe at one point in time this team was 27-12. You know, a 7-game lead in the division to the point where they're playing at right now. So let's jump on into the past week of Tigers Baseball here. The Blue Jays had just come in and swept the Tigers straight out of Comerica Park before they went on the road trip. And I covered the Blue Jays series last week. Wasn't pretty. The Blue Jays, those were close games. But, every time the Tigers would attempt to score or get a temporary lead, the Blue Jays would come right back. And then they would absolutely expose the Tigers' bullpen for what it is and would absolutely destroy the Tigers. So they welcomed in the Red Sox for a 3-game series at Comerica Park over the weekend. And game 1 of the series was Drew Smyly up against Ruby De La Rosa. And Drew Smyly had a very solid game this game. And Ruby De La Rosa actually surprised me on how solid his stuff was. He is highly touted as a guy that had a nice changeup. I'm going to bring up this stuff right here just so I don't forget anything to add here. He was highly touted. They had a nice changeup, and he was actually part of that trade that was a part of the Beckett, Gonzalez, and I forget the third guy that was brought over with the Red Sox to go to the Dodgers, and he was actually part of the pieces that came over, and he was really good. I was impressed by his stuff. He did give up 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings, but he had flashed a really nice changeup. He had good fastball velocity. His defense hurt him a little bit this game. But the Tigers come out, scored some runs for Drew Smyly. Smyly pitched 6 innings, only gave up 1 earned run, struck out 4 and only walked 1. Andrew Romine, believe it or not, had a RBI this game. That was the last RBI he's had all season because he hasn't played since then. V-Mart got an RBI. Kinsler and Torrey Hunter went back-to-back in this game. It was the first home run for Torrey Hunter in quite some time. It was an opposite field homer, and it was cool because his kid was there, Torrey Hunter Jr., who was actually drafted by the Tigers earlier this year. Last year he got drafted by the Tigers, excuse me. But he's actually playing at Notre Dame, I believe, as a football player. So he's not going with the Tigers. That's kind of like, the Padres when they drafted Johnny Manziel. Why would you waste your time on a guy that's, committed to the Cleveland Browns, and you waste a draft pick on Johnny Manziel? I mean, I know it was in the 28th round, but it was kind of laughable. It's like I saw this really good meme on the internet. It's like when the Cleveland Browns when the San Diego Padres isn't the worst team that's drafted you. I thought, oh, man, no, that's a deep blow. But that was pretty much about it. Hunter and Kinsler each got off the schneid a little bit. Kinsler's been struggling a lot. This was his first home run in quite some time. And Victor Martinez netted a homer in this game as well. And the Tigers won it 6-4. And then game 2 was a really, really good game. Miggy Cabrera ended up having 3 hits. And Castellanos hit a ball this game. My biggest complaint about him so far is he isn't taking the ball the other way as much as he was. Inside outing balls, that's his swing. He's been really opening up his hips, and he's been really trying to drive the ball to the pull field more. And he's been taking huge hacks. Well, Johnny Lester served up a fastball to Nick Castellanos. And most of the time, Castellanos swings so hard he misses it. This time, he did miss it, and he hit a ball about as hard as I have seen him hit a ball, and just crushed it right where that glove is, between that separates the two hometown and away team bullpens. And Castellanos absolutely murdered that ball. And who pitched this game? Max Scherzer pitched this game, 6 2/3 innings, 11 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, 1 home run given up. And Lester, though, he absolutely got rocked. He only pitched 4 1/3 innings, 12 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 homers given up. Nick Castellanos had a home run. Eugenio Suarez, making his very first MLB start, hit a home run as his first hit, and he's the first Tiger to do that since Wilkin Ramirez back in 2009. And I actually remember that game because Wilkin Ramirez hit that ball dead center field into the very end of the away team bullpen. And I remember everyone was going crazy. He was like, "Oh, Wilkin Ramirez make his debut," and blah, blah, blah. And after that, Wilkin Ramirez, I don't think ever started another game. And soon enough, he was in the Brave system. The Tigers actually got rid of him. But I actually remember that back in 2009. Ian Kinsler had a triple, another RBI this game. Suarez was everywhere at this game. And man, him and Ian Kinsler turned this double play where the ball was hit right at Kinsler, and Kinsler didn't even have it for a second. Just boom, the quickest quickest throw I've ever saw in a second, and Suarez with a rocket gunned out the runner to get the double play. And I mean, it was just like, it was a thing of artwork. I mean, it was a thing of beauty. I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with if you're a Tigers fan, obviously you know who Dan Dickerson and Jim Price is. And Jim Price is notorious for saying these stupid catchphrases, like when Doug Fister would pitch, you know, you have a great curveball, so you call it the yellow hammer. Or when a guy hits a ball really hard, he calls it buggy whip. Or, you know, they'll say something about a specific part of Michigan, and Jim Price will go, nice area. You know, a big one Jim Price always says is wow. And, you know, after him and Kinsler turned that double play, I was like, wow. I mean, I felt like Jim Price. My jaw was on the floor. I couldn't believe it. I mean, it's like these two. This was Suarez's first start in the big leagues. It was like these two have been taking ground balls together. I mean, I know they practice one another. Suarez played in spring. But, I mean, to have that chemistry, to have that flow, to have that smoothness like that, there's a big-time difference between taking ground balls, because I play second base. There's a big difference between taking ground balls when you're practicing and in game-time situations. And it was a thing of artwork. The Red Sox, you know, they made this kind of close towards the end because of Joe Nathan come out and put his seal of approval on the game, giving up 2 more earned runs to bolster his ERA to a cool 7.04. But the Tigers, you know, they mostly dominated this game. It wasn't for Joe Nathan, you know, sucking ass. This game would even have been close to 8-6 because I believe it was like I want to say it was like 8-3 going into the bottom of the ninth too. So, and then we move on to the last game of the series, and I got to go to this game, and I was actually on ESPN for a second. It was really cool. What I'm gonna, too bad I'm not editing this video, but I'm gonna bring up my phone here real quick. And I actually went to the game on Sunday, and it was an ESPN national televised game. So they had baseball tonight outside of Comerica Park, right by where the Tigers are in the front gate entrance. And I was actually on ESPN. I was making an idiot out of myself and whatnot. I was jumping up on the TV so I could try to get in there. And I actually met Barry Larkin. I don't know how well you guys may be able to see this, but I met Barry Larkin and whatnot. Really nice guy. It absolutely blew my mind that there was people there getting stuff signed by Barry Larkin, and I had this one guy come up to me. He had a Detroit Tiger shirt, and he didn't even have a pen. He just walked up to Larkin because he saw people was over there getting stuff signed by him. And he signed everything. I mean, he was very courteous. I mean, he's a nice guy. And the guy comes back to me after I get my picture taken with Larkin because he was trying to get out of there. And he goes, "Who was that guy?" I'm like, "How do you not know who Barry Larkin is?" First off, he's on ESPN, so he should be known by that. Secondly, he's like one of the top 10 greatest shortstops of all time. Thirdly, he's in the damn Baseball Hall of Fame. How are you going to go up to get something signed by a guy you don't even know who it is? I mean, it blew my mind that no one, besides me and the people getting stuff signed by him, knew who Barry Larkin was. I mean, I remember as a kid, my very first baseball glove I ever got was an official Barry Larkin Pro Model glove. I only paid $5 for the thing. And it was a really nice glove. It was brand new. I bought it from someone I lived in a complex with. And I love that glove. Barry Larkin, I've always liked Barry Larkin. He's a great guy. He was a great player. So it's pretty cool. So we go to the game and whatnot, and Anibal Sanchez is on the mound. Last time I was at a game, Anibal Sanchez pitched. He struck out 17 Atlanta Braves. Well, this time, Sanchez, his command wasn't as good. You know, his command or his strikes to walk ratio was almost 50-50. You know, he wasn't really pounding the zone like he typically does. The off-speed stuff wasn't as crisp as it normally is. He wasn't throwing as many strikes. Had a couple problems with some walks. So I think he still struck out 6. But basically, he dodged in and out of jams. And he was lucky that he only gave up 2 earned runs. Oh, he struck out 7, my mistake. He's lucky he only gave up 2 earned runs in the 6 innings he pitched. Because, I mean, he was in and out of jams all the time. And that was pretty much the story of the game. You know, the Tigers, Eugenio Suarez had another big knock to drive in Nick Castellanos to give him the lead late. Suarez actually had 2 RBIs this game. He got the Tigers. The Tigers were down early because of a sacrifice fly by Justin Pedroia, and then Suarez tied it, and then Victor Martinez singled in after a Miguel Cabrera double. He singled in Miguel Cabrera, and then Mike Napoli homered to tie it, and then Suarez, when it was 2-2, after a brutal error by Bogaerts that let the Tigers get a chance to score in the 8th. You know, Suarez singled in Castellanos to give the Tigers a temporary lead, but Phil Koch somehow pitched an inning and a third scoreless in this game and dodging in and out of danger. Reed was dodging in and out of danger, and Joe Nathan wasn't available. And I knew, I'm like, man, if they can just get through this inning clean, they're going to win this game. Well, Jabba Chamberlain comes out to get the save because Nathan wasn't available because he sucked ass enough the night before. He already thrown 30 pitches because he's awful. Nathan Chamberlain comes out, and Brock Holt, who was a pain in the ass this entire game, gets on base. Well, after that, Dustin Pedroia gets on base. He retires. I forget who he retires. No, he retired Bogarts, and then Pedroia gets on base. And then David Ortiz comes up, and I'm sitting there, you know, with my feet up in the seat, whatnot. I'm keeping score on my scorecard, and David Ortiz hits a home run, a 3-run shot. Every goddamn time I go to a Tigers-Red Sox game, David Ortiz somehow fucks me. He finds a way to fuck me. He fucks me in this game. The Tigers, man, it looked like they were going to win. It was going to be a good Sunday night. It's midnight. The game started an hour later because it was a broadcast. I mean, it's 10 after 12 in the morning, and I got work in a couple hours, and he hits a goddamn home run, and I got pissed, and I just left. I left because I knew Koji was coming out. I didn't even want to see that dude pitch. I was done. I left. He fucks me this game. He fucks me in the ALCS when he hits the damn grand slam. He hit the one game I saw when he hits Max Scherzer for 3 home runs. It gets Max Scherzer actually sent down to the minor leagues. He fucks me in that game. I can't wait for David Ortiz to retire. Seriously. That guy has been a pain in my ass for the last 5 years. And what sucks is he's not even having that good of a year. He's really not compared to his standards. But no, when he faces the Tigers, he finds a way to dick me over every time I go to a Tigers game and they face the Red Sox. So they lost. The Tigers were looking for a sweep, and they needed it, but they lose. So now we head to Chicago. Well, it was supposed to be a 4-game set, but one of the games got rained out, so it was only 3-game set. It was Game 2 that got rained out. Game 1, we couldn't even beat Hector Noesi. Rick Porcello, not another great start on his part. How many innings did he go this game? He went 5 innings while giving up 5 earned runs. His ERA is over 4 after being at 3.5 4 starts ago. Noesi, you know, gave up 4 earned runs. And the White Sox got out to an early lead this game. And Miggy, with bad hamstring and all, he crushed a ball to left center field. I mean, crushed it. And I mean, the ball was 2 inches inside the plate. I mean, just killed it. And then Suarez had another homer to tie it up. And then this is when the game got out of hand. Gillespie scored Beckham in the 5th, and then Jose Abreu hit another home run. I love watching it. I know he's on the White Sox. I hate the White Sox, but I love watching Jose Abreu hit because that guy does not hit crappy pitching. He hits everyone. He's tattooed Verlander for a couple dingers. He's got Porcello. I mean, he's been hitting. He's hit Clayton Kershaw for a homer. He is legit. Victor Martinez, who loves hitting at the cell, had 2 home runs this series. He had his first home run in this game. But basically, it came down to the 9th. Belisario's out on the mound, and the Tigers ended up getting a run in the 9th. And Jackson's on 3rd, and Torrey Hunter's up there after Kinsler pops out in the infield because that's all he's good for lately. He's popping out in the infield, and Torrey Hunter's up, and his swing was just huge. I mean, he was literally almost falling over onto his face. The first 2 swings, because Belisario has a really nasty sinker. But you figure, you know, you can't try to lift the ball in the air because there's 2 outs, and you got to try to hit something on the ground or in line drive it, gap it. I mean, he's taking these swings like he's trying to hit it out of the cell. And, I mean, the first 2 swings look terrible. I mean, he literally almost fell on his face. His swing was that big, and that's been the problem with Hunter. He's just taking really big hacks. He has just looked so bad this year. In the outfield, he's looked awful. At the plate, he's looked awful. His swing is big. It's been inconsistent. His ability to get on base has been inconsistent. I mean, Torrey Hunter's just had a bad year so far. But the first 2 swings were bad, and then the third, he took a ball, and then his 4th pitch, you know, just grounded it out to the shortstop, Alexi Ramirez, and that was it. It was a ball game. And they had a chance to tie this game because Jackson was on 3rd with 1 out. And Kinsler, like I said, popped it up because that's all he's good at right now. And they lost that game. And then Game 2 was postponed, like I said. And then Game 3 was Justin Verlander against John Dings. And Justin Verlander comes out this game throwing 94. The first 3 strikes out Beckham to start the game. He strikes out the first 2 hitters he faces. Retires the side on 8 pitches. And, on 11 pitches, he retires his side. And I'm thinking, oh, man, JV's looking good. You know, he's throwing 94, 95. He touched 98, 99 a couple times in this game. I'm thinking, Verlander's back. He's got the mechanics going. You know, he fixed whatever he said he was working on because he started fixing something mechanically. Nope. Brad Ausmus had his worst decisioning ever as a manager this far. After Jose Abreu hit Justin Verlander for a homer in the 2nd inning, and it was a moonshot, by the way. Man, Jose Abreu is so good. And basically, we're in the 6th inning, and Justin Verlander had already surrendered a couple walks in this inning. And he had 121 pitches, and he's facing Adam Dunn. And or my mistake, he's facing Connor Gillespie, is I believe who he's facing. No. What am I doing? What am I doing? He's facing Gordon Beckham is who he was facing. And he had already walked a couple batters this inning. He had 121 pitches. He was laboring. Verlander, after the first inning, labored. He threw a lot of pitches. The White Sox, man, I don't know what it is. It's not with Verlander even declining as a pitcher. Even when Verlander was at his peak, the White Sox were always a team that always drove up his pitch count because they're always consistently fouling off pitches off him, making him work, getting deep, making him go deep into a lot of counts. I mean, it's always been that way with the White Sox and Verlander. What they had one inning alone, I think it was the fourth, they had 11 foul tips in that inning alone, and it really drove up Verlander's pitch count. And in the sixth, Ausmus, there was 2 outs, and Ausmus had no reason to leave Verlander in there with 120 pitches. And what happens? Beckham hits a ball, scores 2 runs, and then he finally pulls and brings in Ian Krol, I believe, to face Adam Dunn. And what's Ian Krol do? He gives up a 3-run double, and the White Sox, it was either a 2 or 3-run double, and the White Sox take an 8-1 lead, and the game was essentially over after that. It was just not pretty. And Rajai Davis got an RBI this game during garbage time. He scored Suarez, and that was it. But Ausmus was just brutal with that decisioning. That's twice this year. There was a game where Max Scherzer, when he faced the Red Sox earlier this week, where Max Scherzer was like, I want the ball, let me get this guy out. It was against David Ortiz, and it burned him. It cost the Tigers a couple of runs because he couldn't get it done. I understand you're a player's manager. He's a catcher. He was a former catcher. He's got to have faith in his guys. But when he has 121 pitches and already has 5 walks, you got to take him out of there. I mean, especially when the game is as close as it was. You're only down, I think, 2 at that point. I mean, that's easily the most questionable decision Ausmus has made this year. I've agreed with a lot of Ausmus has done this year. I haven't questioned him too much on this channel. You guys have heard. But that was an absolutely brutal decision on his part to leave Justin Verlander in there, and it backfired on him. And then the bullpen put the seal of approval on their game, and he went out of reach, and it was done. So then we go to the last game of the series, and it was Chris Sale against Max Scherzer, and the Tigers need a win. They lost 3 straight at this point. White Sox are closing the gap on the Tigers. They're rated 500, and I think they're 2.5 out. Max Scherzer comes out and faces Chris Sale, and Chris Sale, oh my goodness, is he good. He ends up striking out 10 Tigers hitters over 7 innings. Victor Martinez is the only blemish on his record because Victor hit his 2nd home run of the series. And Miguel Cabrera, basically, the Tigers got the other couple runs. He hit a ball, kind of chopped it. Beckham goes to get fielded up the middle, goes to barehand it, and a couple runs come in and score. They ended up getting 4 runs in this game, but the story was Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer was his very first complete game shutout. I mean, from the word go, Scherzer was like, especially in the 6th and 7th innings, he threw, I think, like 18 pitches in those 2 innings combined. I mean, he was just cruising. He had 9 strikeouts this game. Only walked a batter. Only gave up 3 hits over 9 innings. I mean, this is exactly this is like back in 2011 when the Tigers were going losing streaks. Justin Verlander every 5th day would give you that start you needed. Save the bullpen. Let these guys rest some. Come out, stop a losing streak. What an ace does. Especially when Verlander was at his peak. I mean, that's what he would do. Tigers on a 3-game losing streak. The other couple guys got hit up. Sanchez, who was the stopper for a couple weeks, he didn't have that good of a start. They lost his start. And he didn't have too bad of a start. He didn't have his normal start. Max Scherzer comes out, pitches his very first complete game, and he actually had the most games ever pitched started. I think it was like 174 without having a complete game. And Rick Porcello was actually 3rd on that all-time list in the modern era before I think he complete gamed the White Sox last year at Chicago as well. So. But, I mean, Scherzer was nasty. The fastball command was good. The changeup was filthy. The slider was good. And he was pumped about having it, having the complete game. Leland last year kind of screwed Scherzer. There was quite a few starts where Max Scherzer could have had a complete game. I know there was one in particular where he only had like 95 pitches in the 8th inning, and it was against the Astros when they were winning like 17-1. I mean, that was a blowout game. I remember because Victor Martinez had his first home run of the year that game. But, it was really surprising that it's taken him this long, as good as he is. But, Tigers absolutely needed that. So, to talk about the Tigers as a whole, I am really, really worried about this team right now. After being 27-12 and falling where we're at, I mean, Ian Kinsler's ice cold. Torrey Hunter can't get on base. He's striking out. His swings look terrible. The top of the lineup, Rajai Davis has really come back down to earth. Verlander has given up 5 runs or more in his last 6 starts. or 5 of his last 6 starts. Sanchez has been good. Porcello's ERA has gone up over half a run. Drew Smyly, he's looked very inconsistent. And then Max Scherzer, up until this start, he was getting rocked around. I mean, the rotation, which was your strong point, hasn't been that good. And then Nathan's been terrible. Corey Knebel, who was supposed to come up and give you some quality innings, he hasn't done what you'd expect him to do. Ian Kroll finally gave up. He's been pretty good as of late until that White Sox series. Chamberlain was good until that Red Sox series when he gave out that homer to David Ortiz. But I mean, there's nothing on this team that they're doing well right now. They're not playing defense very well. Their lineup top through bottom is just been inconsistent. I mean, everything I preached about this since February of this past year during the Tigers, all these Tiger previews video. I was scared that Torrey Hunter was going to regress. I was scared about the amount of offense they gave up, Hunter, Peralta, Infante, how that was going to affect the lineup. I was scared about how they didn't do enough in the bullpen. I was scared that if their starting pitching started to falter some, that this team was going to struggle mightily. And so far, everything they came out 27-12 and shut me up for a little bit. But what can you say when they're 27-12? Now, seeing how they're playing now, they're not hitting. Their defense, hasn't been as good as advertised it was supposed to be. Their lineup, especially the bottom half of the lineup, is not doing anything. If it's not Miguel Cabrera or Victor Martinez, it's been inconsistent, even though Castellanos and Austin Jackson have hit pretty nice as of late. And Suarez has done a good job so far, too, in his first 4 games. But then the bullpen, where Jabba Chamberlain and Ian Kroll are literally the only 2 arms getting anyone out. And Torrey Hunter's regressed so much. And, I mean, this team has so many holes right now. I mean, they're getting exposed for exactly what I thought they were. They're playing to the team I thought they were going to be right now, and it's making me really scared and giving me a lot of apprehension about it. I really wish that J.D. Martinez would get a little bit more starting time in left field or right field over Torrey Hunter or Rajai Davis a little bit more. Just for the fact I think J.D. Martinez has a lot more extra base pop than Rajai Davis does. I think he provides a better glove than Rajai Davis does, or definitely a better glove than Torrey Hunter does. I think if he saw a little bit more consistent at bats, I'm not saying every day because you can't put him every day. He's going to get exposed. But I'd like to see him get maybe 1 or 2 more extra starts a week. To get that extra base. I think he has good extra base pop. I think he'd face a little bit more, face a couple more lefties, a couple more righties a week. It's bad. He contribute more than the ends because he's done a great job coming off the bench. And I think he's legit. I think he is. He could be potentially an everyday starter on some teams, but the way Ausmus is using him now, I wish he'd get a little bit more playing time. Not every day like how people wanted to start Tuiasosopo and quit Barry like they did last year, or Barry in the year prior. But I think he needs to see a little bit more starting time. And, I'm not going to fully go into all the way panic mode until after July because Dombrowski hasn't made that move yet. And Tiger fans know it. I know it. Dombrowski always makes that one move at the deadline that sets up the second half of the season. I mean, Leland's teams always started out slow in the first half. I mean, I remember back in 2012, they went 6 weeks without winning back-to-back games, and then they turned it on in the second half because they got, Doug Fister, and they looked great with him, And then last year, getting Anibal Sanchez, or the year before, my mistake, in 2011, getting Doug Fister, and then 2012, getting Anibal Sanchez and Omar Infante, and then last year getting Jose Veras, who did very nice work. So this year, they're going to get, once they get back Hanrahan, once he's up here in the big leagues, I think Dombrowski makes a move for another bullpen arm. So hopefully Suarez, keeps playing well at short, so you got to worry about that. Getting Andy Dirks back, a left fielder that can actually catch a ball, is going to be absolutely awesome. And then you can pop him in there against lefties or against righties and sit Davis, so he doesn't have to hit against many righties and get exposed as bad as he has. Because Rajai Davis splits against righties and lefties has definitely came back down to earth where it should be, not to where it was about a month ago, where it was ungodly at a pace where it shouldn't be. But I mean, after July, I'm going to get a little bit more worried, but I am worried right now just for the fact that this team, the way they're playing, we might see a couple of days where the Tigers are in second place because they're 6-16. They were 6-16 coming into yesterday, and their last thing was at 22 games. And that game Sunday, the Tigers, after that game Sunday, and 50 2/3 innings pitched in the 9th inning, they allowed 47 runs. I mean, this team has a lot of holes right now that weren't getting exposed early in the year when the pitching was absolutely dominant and the bullpen didn't have to pitch as many innings. Now that the pitching hasn't been as good, the offense has been very inconsistent, we're seeing these holes. So Tigers are back home tonight against Minnesota. Drew Smyly's up against Kyle Gibson. Anibal Sanchez goes Saturday against Sam Diduno. And make sure you guys mute the TV because Jack Morris is going to be on the broadcast on Fox Sports 1, and he is absolutely boring as shit to listen to. So I turn on your radio for that game. And then Rick Porcello goes up against Ricky Nolasco, who's goddamn terrible. And then they come in, and then Kansas City comes in for 4 games to close out the week. JV up against Jason Vargas, Scherzer against Ventura, or Ace Ventura. And I'm excited to watch this kid pitch because he is good. Great arm that kid has. And then Drew Smiley against Jeremy Guthrie. And then Annabelle Sanchez against Danny Duffy, which I like Danny Duffy's arm too. I think he has really good stuff to end the week. So that's what I got for you guys today. I hate David Ortiz. Congrats to Max Scherzer. You know, this team is still not playing well. Ninth inning is still an issue. The bullpen is still an issue. The lineup is very inconsistent. They're still not playing good baseball. But maybe that Max Scherzer complete game sparks something, and maybe they can win 5 games this week because they need it really bad. So I got for you guys today. Have a good one.